Today, the only news not announced at Gamescom is that we've got a new intro. This is ChillPoint.
That's amazing.
Oh, so good.
I love that it's all lowercase because it's chilled out.
Yeah. We're not like...
No, we don't shout like checkpoint except
We'll need to change the intro to the blue screen.
Yeah,
graph.
I need
That's
a
fine.
little thing for that. Yeah. That was the idea. It's like we want an intro that's exactly the same as the checkpoint intro, but instead of like
Music's still going.
dynamic poses. Music's still, oh no.
Yeah.
Don't see it going.
Oh, they say it
They say
stopped.
stop.
I guess it might have finished.
Hard cut on the music. All right, we may have to make some adjustments there.
But the visuals are very nice, and that's what you want in video games.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, instead of dynamic news poses, it was relaxed poses.
Yeah.
You know, all the books I read
Yeah.
in the thumbnails.
And all the times I put my feet up on the desk.
Taking the picture for that one was because we took the pictures on the green screen.
Right. So,
So
we
I
just have the
had to help
background.
Beach's feet up.
God, it would have been really funny if you had if we'd known before we went live with that intro, if we just all copped the poses to begin with, so it looked like the intro just grabbed the pose. It's just
Oh,
doing
that'd
that
be so-
shit live.
That'd be so weird.
I had this whole book open the entire time.
Yeah.
Ooh, Vampire.
Anarch.
Which one's that?
That's it's the side of the game that if I join would probably make my vampire dad very upset because
Oh.
he's Camarilla.
Ah. Oh, it's the outside of that. It's the part of the Venn diagram that doesn't cover the neat.
Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, a show where we talk about week's video game news, and also usually talk about the episode of CheckPoint that just went up. There was no episode of CheckPoint this week.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get the preview show Checkpoint up in time for ChillPoint.
Things were very busy this week with preparations for the pre-release and so forth. So,
Yep.
no CheckPoint this week, but still got lots of stories because I always am looking at video game news and marking stories because I've done it for 15 years or something now.
It's become habit.
And so it's kind of a habit.
Yeah. I still have my habit of forgetting Friday is when I do ChillPoint.
Oh, good to have your your things to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's easier now that I have to get out of bed and go stand in a booth for a minute. So, yeah.
Get your booth time in.
Get my booth time in and be like, I should go to the moon base. I have ChillPoint after this.
I'm supposed to upset my
Thinking-
vampire dad?
If we end
I
up
don't know
with
about
like,
that.
I was thinking like if for some reason it ends up that like, you know, at some point CheckPoint like ends and we're just left with ChillPoint.
Mm-hmm.
I like that the name ChillPoint is based on Checkpoint, which is like video game related, but ChillPoint has no bearing on video games. Like it's not a video game related name at all.
It's kind of like, it's the place in like Toe Jam and Earl where you would go to just hang out, right? You go to save your game, but you hang out. You go to the, not the Checkpoint, but the ChillPoint.
But that means we're never a name that someone else will make a podcast of.
Yes.
To being
That's
like
true.
we're
Or
being
a-
clever because
nobody's
it's
gonna
a
steal
game.
our
Or a
name, yeah.
charity, or like, you know, their own little thing, yeah. That's why we can't give up Checkpoint, because we have to continue to maintain that it's like, we were here
I
first.
assumed you just didn't want to give up Checkpoint.
I mean, no.
Definitely don't. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give up ChillPoint. I don't
Uh,
really care about Checkpoint,
let's
but other people do.
let's talk about some things. So, as I said in the intro, it was Gamescom this, or it is
I think it's still
in process
is?
this
Okay.
week. I think it all this week,
Yep.
which is over in Germany, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't
Excellent.
know.
As long as we all believe it, it's true.
Yeah.
All right, great.
And it is the largest video game convention in the European. You've got like E3 or PAX now,
Right.
you've got Tokyo Game Show,
Right.
Yeah, that one's pretty big.
and then you have Gamescom. Those are like the depending on which region you're in, those are the pillars of the like video game conventions. And so there's a bunch of stuff that was announced. They did, and some of the stuff we'll be talking about is sort of things around that. But the first thing I want to talk about is something that I didn't actually see much reporting on, and I only found out about it because Adam told me about it.
It turns out Adam really likes Path of Exile.
Yeah, so there's been a serious fracas, perhaps you might call it.
Okay.
A disagreement between the player base and the developers
No kidding.
in the world of Path of Exile.
All right.
Yeah, they put out a patch or something.
Yeah, the latest expansion has caused some issues because they made some big changes to how the loot distribution stuff. I'll be honest, some of this goes over my head because the way the loot distribution in Path of Exile works is very complicated because it depends on a lot of different factors.
Right.
But the bottom line is the Lake of Kalandra, which is the name of the new expansion. Once people they put it out and people started playing it and started to realize that they were not getting the kinds of loot drops that they were used to. The volume of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
They're like, because there's the
I fight
of,
a thing,
the,
it drops a fang. Yeah.
the economy, like you do whatever 10 raids and your backpack isn't as full as it was previously.
that's
and
fair.
so people were like, huh, this is weird. And notably, there wasn't anything in the like patch notes or the update notes about them rebalancing loot stuff.
Okay.
And the other thing you have to understand is that Path of Exile obviously is Path of Exile is sort of they've decided they have courted the people who find like who are unhappy with like Diablo because it's become too sort of
Corporate. I don't know.
well too kind of arcadey like
okay.
like too they it's people who are really sort of into the grind a little bit.
Sure.
They want to and playing around with like if you look at the like skill tree in Path of Exile,
Right.
it literally looks like a constellation like of all the stars in the sky. Like it is ginormous.
Okay.
And these people are really into, min-maxing stuff, evaluating things, building spreadsheets of what the best build in certain circumstances are and all this stuff, right? So when numbers start changing, when the loot tables start changing,
All your spreadsheet work.
they notice and, they start figuring things out. And now numbers were being thrown, again, it depends on what you're doing, but numbers were being thrown around like 90% reduction in loot amount.
That is incredibly noticeable.
Yeah.
If that's actually what's going on.
Well, apparently that was the case in depending if you were doing certain types of raids beforehand.
Right.
Then you would then that kind of drop actually had happened, but that might not have been the experience for most players. But there
Okay.
was definitely a drop for almost everybody.
Wow.
And now the interesting thing about this is this would often be like the thing that would happen in a game that was like about to do like some sort of pay to win microtransaction thing.
Sure.
Where it's like you can still get loot, it's just way harder to get than it was before. Or you could buy it with real money. Path of Exile, to their credit, does not do that. But they still did this thing. So it was like, so why did they, like, if it's not just to like extract more money out of people, why did they do that?
Right.
And it's, this is a reevaluation of what they think the game, how people should play it and stuff. And they, in the week since this came out, there have been like several patches changing things, fixing things.
Trying to get people less angry.
Trying to get people less angry.
Sure.
without sort of changing the underlying stuff that they modified, but just increasing. And there's also weird stuff with like they use non-specific words like we've increased this by a lot, or we're doing this to make it these more common and stuff. Right? Again, these are groups of people who want like if it's gone from 0.3% drops to 0.4% drop, we need to know to recalculate the spreadsheet for us.
Right. This is interesting because Account Made for Ants says apparently people are opening empty chests at this point, which is hilarious because, yes, if you're opening a chest, you always expect there to be something, or at least more often than not. But the parentheses gets me, but it's mostly just filtered out the garbage apparently, which people were already doing themselves anyway. And I'm like, is that on the sense of like, a rat tail? Well, I already have 1,000 of these. Why do I need more rat tails?
Well, it's that like even like I've played Diablo and stuff. And very quickly in Diablo, you just like you stop picking up non-magic stuff. Right. It's like anything that isn't glowy.
You're just like, I don't need that.
Yeah. It's just empty space. And so lots of people have like plugins that filter things, and one of the things that they've started doing in Path of Exile is on the actual game side, they'll filter, like if a bunch of stuff is going to drop, they won't even bother to show you the crappy stuff, like because they're like nobody's going to pick that stuff up. And
Chet's saying that there's a built-in loot filter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
to hide stuff you don't specifically want to see, which honestly sounds like a pretty good quality of life feature.
Yeah. But there's a couple of things that happened sort of not simultaneously, but in close proximity to each other, that made this. For one thing, apparently they raised the line on that loot filter a little bit.
Okay.
So more loot was being not shown.
Right.
Because more valuable stuff is saying. There was also that the previous expansion to this one they're doing was a particularly generous one in terms of drops.
Right.
So that, because Path of Exile works in like I think they call them leagues, where it's like sort of a limited time thing, and then they start a new one, and then they start a new one.
Okay.
So the previous one was particularly generous, and then this new one was particularly not generous.
Yeah. It just seems weird.
And then on top of that, there's this other aspect that has annoyed people is these special mobs or special bad guys that have lots of that are worth a lot of gold or a lot of stuff, but in order to make them worth a lot, they have a bunch of like mutators on them, a bunch of modifiers and stuff, and there are quite a few different circumstances where the combination of several of those modifiers can make a bad guy either just miserable to fight, because like a fight which would have taken 30 seconds is taking like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Or like it makes it so like certain builds are just not like it just turns off whatever your actual thing, like, he's immune to poison, and it's like, well, that's great, that was my thing.
Yeah, I had a whole thing built around poison. Jesus.
So there's a combination of a bunch of stuff. They've come back and tried to explain to the community what they were doing, working back and forth.
Right.
According to their internal metrics, the loot numbers are not that different than they were before, because they're like apparently the idea was to make less loot but more valuable loot.
That sounds like a great idea.
But apparently part of the problem with that, though, is that it's made it very spiky. Like that the average is about the same, but there's a lot more RNG in terms of like if you do a single raid, you might get severely screwed in terms of loot. If you do 30 raids, maybe it'll work out over the length of it. So anyway, it's a real tricky process that you go through with games like this, where the economy and everything is so dialed in that like any small little tweaks to it, all the little knobs that you can adjust. So it was the combination of them legitimately trying to make a change, not that change going too far and having to walk it back a bunch, and none of that being reported in the actual notes, the update notes. So people just had to find out about it.
Right, you just jump in and you're completely blindsided by oh, brand new updates, awesome. It's like, oh, bug fixes and performance enhancements, great. And it's like, why is my game completely different?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fucking the YouTube app on our Apple TV at home. I don't know what happened in the last week, but for some reason, every time I watch an ad, it wants to change the video setting. It's like, oh, I'm going to show you this ad, but I'm going to show it to you in a completely different, it's going to be 4K, but it's going to F with your Dolby Vision for some reason. And so it's going to blank out the receiver. My receiver's going to be I'm mad for some reason, and it's going to blank through that. And because ads show up all the time in YouTube, it's constantly doing it in the middle of videos. I'm just I can't make it stop, and I don't know what the problem is, and nobody else seems to know what's going on with this, but nobody also has a fix for it either, except oh, you should just set it back to 4K SDR. And I'm I paid for this TV. I'm used to using my TV this way, and then you just randomly changed a thing in the background that's now making my experience watching YouTube worse. And hey, my experience watching YouTube is already pretty bad because it's YouTube.
Hey, everybody who's watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sorry, your experience was...
Please enjoy this mid-roll ad.
I mean, so here's the thing. YouTube is bad. Watching Twitch VODs is worse.
Hey, everybody on Twitch.
You might not want to watch this as a VOD.
Amusingly, a couple people in the comments were mentioning Adam. And like I said, Adam's the one who put me onto this story. Amusingly, Adam was saying that by whatever, because Adam, as we all know, is as well as the Boshi and a super hardcore gamer, is also very lucky. Apparently, the build that he happens to be used, is completely rocking in this new thing. And so he's I don't know what you're talking about. I have more loot than I've ever had.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Because, that's what so yeah. He's been mostly laughing at everybody.
I mean, let's be honest, if even if Adam's build was really bad in this new meta, he'd be angry about it, but he'd still probably be laughing at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Speaking of games that make people annoyed, make the fans of the game annoyed.
Okay, are we going to guess what the game is before we go?
I mean, I already know.
Is it World of Warcraft?
Close.
It's free to play.
Destiny 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's good. That community loves its game.
You know what would make Destiny even better than it already is?
Micro seasons.
Imagine if you could play Destiny 2, but instead of just your three buddies doing a raid, there were 100 people all doing a battle royale thing, and fooled you, it's actually Fortnite.
Oh, okay.
And they put Destiny, and they're doing a combination. They're doing a promotion where you can they're putting Destiny skins into Fortnite.
Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
a little robot thing too, and the commercial's weird because Destiny looks a very certain. I don't play Destiny, but I know a number of people who stream it, so I've seen a lot of it, and I'm it has a very certain look. And then you put it into Fortnite, and it looks like somebody tried to make it out of plasticine.
Because Destiny is about dressing up your cute avatar.
Yes.
90% of that game
is
about collecting shaders and getting cool loot.
Yes.
And then trying to make yourself look as awesome as possible. But Fortnite can't support all of that configuration.
Oh, they're not going to.
Okay.
To be fair, Fortnite does also have a lot of dressing up and looking cool.
Yeah, but Fortnite wants.
But it doesn't have thousands of shaders, right?
And build things and not build things, and I don't know. I just don't like Fortnite.
So a bunch of Destiny, Destiny skins, a couple of Destiny emotes, different things like that.
Aren't they putting some Fortnite stuff in Destiny as well?
I don't know if it's going the other way. The thing I saw
Just a dude running around in a white shirt and beige pants, and it's like, oh look, it's the default.
Yeah, the Fortnite cross.
I don't know, man. I just
So yeah, the Destiny armors. Oh yeah, and there's also going to be. The impetus for this is that Destiny is being added to the Epic Store.
okay.
So it wasn't Destiny wasn't previously available from
All
Epic.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
So
It's
Fortnite, which is obviously Epic's big game, and then the other game
Right.
that Epic is pushing right now is Fall Guys. So
Right.
apparently there's going to be
They're doing,
Destiny like little like Fall Guy Bean Man
Great.
outfit.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So they're doing one of those synergistic marketing crossover things.
I
got it.
haven't. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any or pictures leaked or released about what the Fall Guys outfits are going to look like. I love the idea
Fortnite?
of little fat Destiny guys.
Oh
running
yeah,
around.
yeah, absolutely.
The
Just
body
this fat warlock.
proportions- The body if they try to keep the Fortnite body proportions with the bean suits, though, you're gonna have people just looking like Grimace. They're much
Yeah.
taller than
Yeah, everyone will
Little
like
beans.
yeah, because people are like all like Destiny does have like that a lot of like sort of purple style stuff. Yeah, you look like cyberpunk Grimace,
yeah.
which sounds kind of cool to be honest.
I mean, it's probably fine.
Well,
Yeah, what happens if Kirby eats one of the Destiny guys? That's what I want to know.
Well, then maybe he gets a cool robot and a bunch of
But-
different shaders for.
just
his
Kirby has a
skin.
Gjallarhorn all of a sudden.
Put Destiny in Smash, not because I want to play Destiny
Because we want to see
players.
what Kirby
I just
looks
want to
like.
see what Kirby looks
I'm-
like when he eats a Destiny
I
guy.
mean, it's the best part about Smash. What does Kirby look like if it eats something?
Yeah, everyone always asks that.
yeah. Whenever any new character is added.
Sometimes they get their hair. Sometimes he gets their hats. Sometimes he gets a gun.
Oh yeah, they're also gonna have you can come in like on a sparrow instead of I think it's like
okay. Yeah, yeah.
replaces the your parachute in Fortnite.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
come in on a sparrow.
That's
instead.
good.
But do you get to keep it when you land?
I don't think you get to like drive around on
No,
it. That doesn't seem fair.
I don't really care about fair in video games, especially if I'm the one who gets to be unfair.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you want me to play your game or not? Just make me overpowered.
The secret is I don't care if I get to
Yeah.
be the unfair one in the video game.
Right. Now, I suppose this is actually sort of ties in tangentially because, of course, Xbox head Phil Spencer did an interview with Bloomberg magazine, and he was talking because obviously they're still in talks in the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And one of the things that they talked about was console exclusivity. And he's saying it's something I think we're going to see less and less of, talking about the idea of games being exclusive to a single device.
Right.
Maybe you have it happen in your household, you have an Xbox and I buy a PlayStation, and our kids want to play together, and they can't because the wrong pieces of plastic plug into your television. I really love the idea of building in more bringing in more players, reducing friction, making people safe, secure when they're playing, and allowing them to play with their friends regardless of what device. And I think in the long run, that's good for the industry. Which is like, yes,
Sure.
obviously good.
Yep.
My first takeaway from that was like, oh, Phil, that's great. When should we expect Halo Infinite on PlayStation? When is that going to be announced right away?
Yeah.
Or are you guys going to wait till like next month to announce that? When is that?
I mean that's the other thing. This is Xbox specifically. He can talk to about that, but like the idea of, I bought this piece of plastic, you bought this piece of plastic. Can we play together? Is also dependent upon crossplay. Not
Right.
just necessarily that the software exists on both. And in the past, we know PlayStation has not been super interested in like letting people do that.
Yeah, they've been sort of pulled kicking and screaming into the world of crossplay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because of course Microsoft is like, yes, we don't think console exclusives are great, but what I think what they mean with that is that we think things should be available on Xbox and PC.
Yep. We don't
Which
think
they
your
own-
console exclusives
which
are a good idea.
Which are both their platforms.
Uh-huh.
So they're like, we're happy with that.
Sure.
Ugh.
I mean, a lot of what we see now, especially in regards to Xbox and PlayStation and PC, is timed exclusives.
Right.
Right? You see like the 6 month to a year thing here, and then you can get it elsewhere, or you get like the Spider-Man's only available on PlayStation in Avengers or whatever.
Right. The
Then
like
you get
content
character exclusives or
yeah.
content exclusives. You don't necessarily get software exclusives. And I'm like, okay, I can buy that maybe one day. Maybe you get you pull Sony completely off of their tirade, and you get them to be okay with crossplay. I don't see that happening with Nintendo ever.
No. Yeah.
But I don't
mean,
think he's talking about Nintendo.
No,
it's
it didn't come up.
yeah. It's interesting, and I mean, of course, we're in this interesting area now where, because the consoles are all based on like even Nintendo's consoles based on relatively commodity hardware. People aren't throwing in weird cell processors and custom hardware anymore.
Yeah.
And so the exclusivity is just like a marketing, an economic thing. Not like before, if you made a game for a PlayStation 3, that game ran on nothing else. Because
Yeah.
the PlayStation 3 had a completely wacky architecture.
Yeah.
And you'd have to remake it. It'd have to be completely redone on a different system.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's all just x86 stuff, and you can just compile it in different things. And it's purely an economic decision.
Except the Nintendo, which is ARM, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this generation's also been really weird, right? Because it's like PlayStation 5's incredibly hard to get a hold of. So almost all there's very few PlayStation 5 exclusive, even outside of not working on a PlayStation 4. Almost every game that's come out that's like, oh, I want to play that. Oh, I still have my PlayStation 4. I can play it on that. I don't care about the ray tracing.
It's funny
It's
too
fine.
because it puts
Xbox has Halo
yeah.
and nothing else, maybe.
I don't
And
know
they
of
don't typically have things I care about.
I guess that's the problem,
I
yeah.
mean, everything on Xbox is also available on PC these days, so it's like less of an issue.
It's certainly one of those things that like gives you pause to think about the how necessary is when people are like, I'm going to make this thing for the PlayStation 5 and I'm also going to make it for the Xbox, and then the PlayStation 5 is nearly impossible to get, and it's going to be a little bit harder for people to get as well, because we can maybe talk about that in conjunction to it. And the Xbox is already out doing things. It's kind of like, right, so if people are... If the Xbox exists as a way to get your thing, or you're just mad at having to like, which console do I go to? So I'm just going to go to the PC, because Nintendo will always be its own thing. It'll always be doing its own thing, and I think it's interesting that it's like Xbox is in a really good position right now. Like they're in probably the shooting yourself in the foot own goal kind of situation that Sony finds themselves in, just because of things kind of beyond their control. I guess maybe it's not shooting themselves in their own foot, but the Xbox is in a great position right now to be this like, you can buy us as a console, and that more and more companies are probably interested in getting their game to Xbox, at least because chances are they're not as many PS5s out there to get them to at this point. And if you're going to do that, then why wouldn't you push it to the PC? Because it's like, you're already making it for Xbox. Well, Microsoft's trying to make it easy for you to make it for Windows as well. Like,
Game Pass is also a pretty big deal from what I understand, and I think indies do quite well on that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I have Game Pass, and I don't have an Xbox, but I use it all the time in terms of PC. Like almost every game, like certainly any recent games that are available for Xbox are definitely on available for PC.
Like
as well.
I was never part of the household that bought all of the three consoles that were out. Like
Yeah.
Right.
generally you got one, and even when I got my own money, I was just like, why would I buy that one? It's basically like this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one has more things on it I like. I just get that one.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, obviously console exclusivity is annoying, but there's actually a story I didn't mark as a thing but there's some stuff about the new NHL 23, like the
2K23.
I don't know if it's 2K. Maybe
Oh,
it's
might be
2K.
EA then.
I don't know. What
Okay.
it is. Anyway, the next NHL game,
Mm-hmm.
which they had, they have all the fancy new features that are whatever. But one of the things that they talked about adding is that they're going to have crossplay. But at least at launch, the crossplay is competitive only,
Okay.
not cooperative. So
Yeah, you were telling me
you end
about
up
this.
with this weird situation where you can have 5-on-5, like 10 people playing 5-on-5, but one team has to be all Xbox and one team has to be all PlayStation. You can't have a mixed team of PlayStation and Xbox for some reason. Like, I don't quite understand why that would be the case, but maybe, I'm sure there's some technical... Maybe,
Voice chat.
Yeah, maybe
It might
it's
be
voice
voice
chat
chat.
or some... Yeah,
Something to do with that's still pretty funny, though.
Yeah.
yeah, literal console wars.
Did you not tell me about this?
I had never heard of this.
No, I told you that.
You told me about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was you?
I don't have a beard.
I know. I've noticed.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm just checking in.
Yeah. Also, crossplay is what people in the cosplay community
Yeah.
call it when you dress up as the opposite gender.
I know. That's why I like
Mm.
using it in terms of gamers.
I guess rather more to say when you dress up as somebody who is not your own gender.
generally, yeah.
Generally, yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, actually, yeah, we might as well, while we were talking about PlayStations,
Yeah.
you know how PlayStation has not been easy to acquire,
Mm-hmm.
despite
They're
So-
trying their hardest, I bet.
Sony has repeatedly said, and I mean, I don't think they would lie about this, that like they're producing more PlayStations like per month, PlayStation 5s than they were PlayStation 4s.
Sure. Okay.
Apparently,
Yeah.
it still seems that nobody can get them.
No.
That's what I hear. I mean, I haven't actually personally gone looking, and now that they're going to make it go up by $20 in our province or our
Whole
in
country.
Canada,
Yeah.
So yeah, they're
our whole entire country.
Sony is raising the
They're
price.
going to be raising the prices in most areas.
Yes. And weirdly not
the US.
Japan
Not Japan
and not
no, they are in Japan. They are
Okay.
they are
It's not.
increasing in
It's
Japan.
not the states.
but not in the USA. And
Yeah.
there was some argument about like it's like, well, why does anyone think that they wouldn't raise them in the USA? And there's that sense of like, well, the USA at like almost 400 million people is a much bigger market than even the Japanese market. So it's like, maybe you don't piss off your
I assumed
largest
it
like
had more
market.
to do with the dollar.
And it's
Because
that
it's almost generally what whenever we have game price increases or anything, they generally blame it on inflation and the U.S. dollar and how it's doing on market. And then when
everything corrects.
when we do really well, they never take that price hike
No,
back.
they
It's
don't.
weird that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's.
I wouldn't
I-
care so much if they actually took the price hike back every now and then.
I feel like most of us in the non-United States parts of the world are just so beaten down and blasé about like, oh, we're charging you 1.5 times as much as it is in the
shit.
and we're just like, but that's not what the exchange.
Yeah. And
We're,
then
we're just so we're so used to it
Yeah.
that it doesn't even really like register.
There was like a brief time, I think, where when we were on par, that people would walk into the store where I'm selling iPads and stuff like, but they were at par, so shouldn't it be at this? And it's like that is so.
It's like you're
that is
correct.
so not how it works.
It's like, you're correct. That is how it should be.
yeah,
That is not how it is.
Can't do anything about
If
it.
these things were $100 cheaper, I'd buy one today. I don't get to make that decision, and that's just
Yeah. But I mean, I've seen it with because when you buy stuff like video games frequently, and you're like, or at least looking at the store frequently, you start to notice when it like everything suddenly jumps up by $5, and you're like, that's not going back down.
Yeah, that will be how it will be forever.
Yeah. There's you do often see it. It's like, yeah, because of the exchange rate, we're having to increase the prices, and then but you don't ever see the exchange rate going back down.
Yeah, people. The idea they had said is that because the U.S. dollar is apparently coming in at par or getting pretty close to the euro or whatever is part of the reason why it gets to stay cheaper in the U.S. than everywhere else in the world. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really know how any of I've never sat down and gone through, well, this is how the pricing should work, and if you see these things change, then this should happen. And it's like, yeah, it's just, I find it so complicated that I can't bother being interested.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at some point,
I know I could understand it if I wanted to sit down and figure it out. I just
this thing will come down in price. I mean, it doesn't have to right now because they can't keep them stocked.
Supply and
there's going to
demand
be
kind
part
of
of
thing,
that. I'm waiting. I didn't get a PlayStation 4 until like after they announced the PlayStation 5, so it was much cheaper. And honestly, I'm kind of hoping they make the PlayStation 5 squat at some point, so the PlayStation 5 will fit in my shelves.
Oh yeah. They'll make like a
It's
little
like-
tiny
Instead of
one.
slim-
instead of slim,
Instead of slim, because it's too tall. It needs to be
PlayStation
squat.
5 stumpy.
Yeah, it needs to fit in an IKEA calyx.
Yes.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's gonna have to sit on top of the desk, and that I just don't have space.
yeah. You could always just not buy one.
I mean, that's currently my currently that's working out for me because
Yeah.
everything's still coming out on PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, that won't work so much.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'll give up on it and I'll just play the games in my backlog.
What's important is we have one here.
I love the.
Oh, that's true. I could just sit in the moon base and play games all day and not stream.
You just borrow it and take it home.
I think people would know. I don't have a backpack large enough for
There's
that
also
thing.
that.
I love the announcement on the PlayStation blog because it starts out with this like, the economic environment is a challenge to many of you around many of you around the world are no doubt experiencing. We are seeing high global inflation rates as well as adverse currency trends impacting consumers and creating pressure on many industries. And now, here's another thing that's going to be happening that's bad for you. It's like we're sympathetic. It's like, man,
No, we're
everything has
not.
been really tough these days.
Mm-hmm.
This will also be tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why preamble with that if what you're going to be saying is
Yeah.
we're going to increase the prices?
Yeah. Here's my stance on it.
That's the like you start the conversation and be like, and that's why, we're going to lower prices for you.
Yeah. my stance on this
Nice.
is if you can't afford to buy one, then just don't buy one and just wait for like another 2 or 3 years by the point where they're because this is the thing that gets me is I'm like the PlayStation 5 has kind of been fraught. There aren't enough of them out there for it feels like there's not enough of them out there for people to really devote a lot of like in the way the PlayStation 4 where it's like PlayStation 4 is like everywhere. It's ubiquitous, right? Everybody wanted to have one of those things. PS5 has been a lot harder for people to get. Therefore, the ubiquity isn't quite there. We have this kind of sense of you don't hear about people promoting stuff for that much like the way you didn't hear people promoting stuff for the Xbox One. It wasn't that exciting a console to be pushing stuff onto because not as many people had it, and so while the fan base had theirs, it's like this wasn't as ubiquitous. And so I wonder if what will happen is the PlayStation 5 will only have about 3 good years of its actual life. Maybe 2, but probably only the last 3 years of its life will be the ones where it actually is like doing really well based on everything that's happened so far. Because you want to get about 7 years out of a console, right?
It's going to be one of those like there's going to be a ton of articles on like Kotaku and Polygon and stuff in 3 years being like the PlayStation 5 is actually really good.
Yeah, right. Like that's what happened.
You should give it another chance.
I don't know if they'll go to Vita levels with it. That
Right.
seems
But
unlikely.
It just feels like that idea of this will be the thing that happens ultimately is that it will just languish for the next couple years while the supply chain works its shit out, and then Sony gets to a point where they say they're producing lots, they're selling, but why does it feel like nobody can buy one? Because it should feel like you should walk into a store by now and just be able to see them on a shelf.
I mean, you can definitely do that with. I mean, you can definitely do that with Switches.
Right.
Currently now, I
even
think
when
you
they
can.
had like when it was like, oh, they're all selling out in all the stores. That was the story you heard. They're constantly selling out, which is weird because we didn't hear about how the PlayStation 5 is selling out everywhere in a way that made people like have a mad panic. It was like, well, yeah, of course they're selling out. There's none of them anywhere. The Switch went from being like, oh my god, everyone's buying them. Oh my god, there's tons in stock. Oh my god, everyone's buying them again. Like,
It's true. You don't, and it is weird the way
The narrative?
Maybe it's just the narrative. Like it seems like PlayStation 5's like sold out and are just not being restocked.
Yeah.
But that obviously
Can't be the case.
Can't be the case. But it's just, it's weird the way the narrative is like that.
Mm-hmm. It's odd how we come up with the perception of how this stuff is going, and maybe what will happen is that the revision of the PS5, they already did a revision, didn't they?
PS5?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, whatever the revision will be, their slim version, that seems to be kind of the case.
Again, I want it to be a squat.
I get it.
Yeah.
But whatever the revision is, maybe that'll be the thing that grabs everyone's imaginations, and then they'll run away with that, and then maybe Sony might even be like, can we tweak maybe one more year out of this? Maybe just like a year and a half, maybe 2 extra years out of the cycle that we would normally not get, just because even though we have a PS6 kind of sitting in the back and ready to go, maybe we just push this forward just a little bit longer so we can actually make our value off of the PS5. Or maybe they will do what is ultimately going to feel like a Wii U move, which is like, kill it early. Get it off the thing because nobody wants to buy this thing, get the new one out because it's ready.
No, I think if their issue is they can't keep, they're just constantly having to make more and to get more out into the hands of people, especially if it is a supply chain issue. Pulling up like a PlayStation 6 isn't going to solve that issue so much, and the Wii U had a completely different issue. You could buy one, no one wanted to.
Sure,
it's true.
And the PS5 is an amazing console. Like, it does everything it does quite well. So there's no reason to say we need to shit-can this thing in favor of a PS6. But if the perception is that nobody got a chance to play a lot of PS5 games because nobody was making PS5 games because nobody has a PS5, what a terrible narrative we've created, right? That will it turn into we have to make it go a little bit longer, we have to get a little bit more out of the console, and does that mean that then Microsoft jumps ahead by saying, well, we have a brand new Xbox, something available, and Sony's like, shit, we were going to try to get another year out of our console. We can't do that anymore.
Microsoft is jumping ahead because they have a better price point.
There's that too.
For them.
But I mean like a debut of a new console.
Yeah, but I don't think we hear about a new console for a while.
I mean, maybe, and maybe, you know, as this whole thing with, like, you know, Sony's been apparently selling a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's just the thing that, like, people buy PlayStation 5s but just, like, aren't excited about them, so they're not, like, talking about it a lot.
Could be, yeah. It would be really interesting if it came out as, like, this stealth thing. Like, if Sony did a marketing campaign that was like...
It's like, yeah, I have a PlayStation 5. Yeah. What?
Really?
Like,
I thought they were all sold out. It's like, no, I've had mine for a while. I play it all the time. It's like, oh. And it's like, yeah. And then the marketing campaign is like, you all have PlayStation 5s, right?
So when the Xbox
Don't you people have
Series,
PlayStation 5s?
whatever the new ones are, and the PlayStation 5 were coming out, if I remember right, they were both basically playing chicken with one another over releasing the release dates. So I assume that's going to happen again.
Yeah. That's what I think is that whatever the PS6 is going to be and whatever the next Xbox is going to be, they are going to want them to come out at about the same time.
Yeah.
We're not going to see this kind of staggered release that Nintendo has taken this sense of like, it's like, we're not playing console war game bullshit anymore. We're going to release when we are ready to release and we're happy to release. We're going to make the thing come out. And I'm like, I think that would benefit all three of the manufacturers to say, like, if you're releasing within a year of each other and you're just kind of constantly leapfrogging each other like that all the time, you're going to get so much concentration on you being the new hot thing. I think that would just benefit all three of the companies.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's wise to just completely
stay out of it.
Do whatever they want.
Completely work on a different angle than everybody else is.
Because they are making a different thing that is not ever going to be the same as the PS5 and the Xbox. And yeah, anyway, I'm editorializing a lot about stuff. We could talk about anything else.
I think we've exhausted that topic.
I sure have, for at least a few months.
I don't know about that.
Here's a different topic, which is an interesting thing that unfortunately is not that uncommon, but and obviously this is an ongoing thing where there's been a bit of back and forth between companies. But anyway, there's a company, Toge Productions and Mojiken Studios, who were working on a game called Space for the Unbound.
Okay.
Which is an adventure game. People were kind of interested in it. Looked kind of cool. They are developers. It is being published by a UK publisher named P-Cube Games.
Oh, I know
I've
them.
heard of
Yeah.
them, yeah.
All right.
And it turns out that sort of initially unbeknownst to them, P-Cube Games applied for diversity funding during the pandemic
Okay.
because they were publishing this game that from people from Indonesia. And so it was able to qualify for this sort of diversity grant.
Cool.
Okay, sure.
But they didn't tell the and then it appears that, according to developers anyway, that they basically took that money and sort of used it as like a incentive, being like, hey, you know, this is like
You could qualify to get some of this money from us.
as like a incentive for, you know, a goal thing for, you know, if you
Sell 1,000 units?
or if you hit certain milestones or whatever.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And didn't actually make it clear. And so basically, instead of the money going to the developers, the people who are the people, like the people who are the diverse people that the grant was supposed to be supporting.
Right.
It went to the UK publisher, and then the UK publisher just used that money however they saw fit.
Right. They made goals for themselves to say this is how we think that this money should be distributed, where it's like you shouldn't be allowed to make that decision. If you applied for this because you were working on a game with people who would qualify under this, then those people should actually be receiving the money to help push them forward.
Yeah, so they say they added it as a recoupable minimum guarantee, and then used it to negotiate an increase in their revenue share.
Oh yeah, that would be part of the contract.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
It's, I get the feeling this is probably one of those things that's likely not illegal technically with what they did, but very
scummy,
immoral.
Yeah, immoral. I
And-
like that. Let's just say that. Yeah.
And then so P-Cube obviously has come back and has come back themselves saying that, you know, we've honored all our publisher agreements and have supported them at every stage. I love when there's comments there's statements like this. We have honored all our obligations to our publishing agreement and have supported Togia Productions at every stage of development throughout their delays and difficulties. Little in there, just like despite their delay, you know.
Yeah, I've made it despite your directions.
The supporting include offered significant funding over and above the grant funding. So anyway, they you know, they're from their point of view, you know, this is obviously something that may have to be worked out with lawyers and so forth. But yeah, I feel like there is we didn't technically do anything wrong.
You're right.
Part of this.
Yeah, I believe
it's just the scummy thing.
It's not illegal,
Yeah.
but also a lot of things
I
aren't
would
illegal.
suspect that this is more a symptom of a deteriorating relationship between these two companies.
Yeah.
That this was one aspect of.
You know what? Because this is the thing. When you say that, I'm like, if I was in a position where I had to create goals and I was trying to like push a company forward, and I'm like, boy, I'm having a hard time with just, let's not look at like races or diversity or anything else, just like it's company to company. It's like I'm trying to encourage somebody to do more work or to get their work done or whatever. Yeah, I believe I'd be like, okay, well, we're going to negotiate their contract to state that it's like I will pay you in bits while the things are getting done and you're waiting for these things, and if you get your stuff done on time, then there will be a bonus waiting for you at the end of it, and if you don't get your stuff done on time, then there'll either be a penalty or you'll lose out on whatever, like that kind of thing. I'm like, sure, that'll make sense. That's business. But taking money from the government for a specific kind of support, because that's really what this is. This isn't about providing an incentive for people to work. It's about providing support for people who meet this criteria and then say, well, then we will be the ones in charge of ensuring that happens. I'm kind of like, that is doing something wrong. You know, when you say I didn't technically do anything wrong, it's like you didn't break any laws.
Yes, that's
Don't say you didn't do anything wrong.
that's
You
generally
didn't
what
break
people
any
mean when
laws.
they say that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem here, where I'm like, in this case, you should be saying, well, the money exists. It's like, yeah, well, then that money should go to them. That money is like, or that money should be split among the people who meet the criteria who should have been getting the money in the first place. We have this money for you. It is on behalf of our government. We are paying you to ensure that you guys get this. Like, we are not paying you. They are paying you, but they're paying you through us. We have done this cool thing for you. But also we have these other agreements that you have to remember, that you're going to get this money out of our government through us, but there's these other things you have to obey. I guess
my question would be, in the way you're stating things, why would the publisher be the one allowed to even apply for the grant in the first place? Why not the devs who actually make up?
Well, if the devs are doing work, like if they're actually, because you said they're Indonesian, and I'm assuming that means that the company itself is Indonesian, but they're working with a UK publisher. And it is odd there, because I'm like, I don't understand why a UK publisher should say, well, we're working with companies in other places. And I'm like, right, if they're not landed immigrants or they're not UK citizens, I'm like, how does that money supposed to flow to them in the first place? Why are you guys applying for this? But maybe that's part of the thing you're allowed to do, is to say, as a publisher that's trying to spread, the wealth around and hire like people from different places.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know how that works.
Like what this grant was for outside of what just sounds like, oh, well, we have people who we're helping who are not English.
Yeah, because it's like if they're employees of your company, that's one thing. But if they're literally like it's a contracted company in a different country.
Who knows what the actual particulars of this grant were.
Yeah.
Devs, as far as I understand it, aren't generally employees of the publishing company. They make a contract to help get their game funded and made.
Katana, that is an amazing joke. I applaud that. That's so good. They were likely programming in Java if they're from Indonesia. God, that's funny.
Anyway.
Sorry, I'm more of a tea drinker.
So obviously this is an ongoing thing, but it's unfortunate because from what I like I said, P-Cube Games is not an unknown publisher.
No, they publish quite a bit,
and they have a reasonably good reputation. So it's a shame that if they have indeed there's some shitty stuff going on there, then that would be extremely unfortunate. Also for other people working with P-Cube. So who knows? We shall see what the end result is.
Maybe.
Possibly. Actually, no. We probably won't
likely
hear.
Us, likely not.
Yeah.
That will likely be the last of what we hear of that, unless something else weird happens.
Yeah.
How the news goes.
You know what will make your Switch better? DRM.
Oh, good. I assume in its own way there is some onboard DRM with the Switch, but is this?
Yeah,
not
this. There ain't.
The Switch definitely has all sorts of DRM on it.
Sure, yeah.
But how about Denuvo?
Oh, there's a word I hadn't heard in a while.
It's for so long. We PC gamers have kept Denuvo to ourselves, but it would just be selfish.
Your own shiny little secret
to keep Denuvo to ourselves.
We don't need it.
So anyway, this story, there's been a bit of sort of stuff about this story because Denuvo is a DRM platform, primarily used on PC stuff. Does not have a good reputation because,
something about rootkits.
Anti-piracy on PC is, controversial at the best of times. And Denuvo in particular is known for, despite their repeated assurances.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't believe them.
Severe performance issues.
It's the reason why millions of gamers know what ring 0 is on a kernel.
And yes, in the past they have their current system is not rootkit stuff, but they have gotten in trouble with rootkit things.
Yeah.
But even without the rootkit stuff, they often are associated with severe performance issues.
Yeah.
To the extent that many games that are launched with Denuvo will actually pull it out like 6 months after they launch.
Yeah.
With the idea being that the window for making money on the game
has closed. Mostly.
Well, and that piracy is less of an issue.
Yeah.
And everyone will see like a 15% increase in performance.
It's like, hey, look, we did this awesome thing to make the game run faster. It's like, hooray!
So anyway, Denuvo has, now to be clear, this is not a Nintendo thing. This is nothing to do with Nintendo.
It's just on the Nintendo platform.
But Denuvo has released a thing, a product that developers can use to safeguard their games against emulation. So theoretically, this thing isn't actually running on, as long as your game is running on a Switch, this isn't doing anything. Obviously, we don't know that.
Yeah.
But the implication is that this is basically something that is supposed to detect whether the game is being emulated
on a PC.
Not on a Switch. Or is being played on a emulated Switch.
Or, yeah, I guess that.
Yeah. Now, the weird thing about this, you're talking about like rootkits and Ring Zero and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me that like this is the whole point of an emulated system is that it is
it's trying to be as one-to-one.
It's trying to be as one-to-one, but it's like an emulated system by its very nature is completely compromised.
Yes.
Like any kind of security that was innate to the system can and often is removed, because the whole idea is that you are basically you can make this emulated version of a Switch do whatever you want,
right?
Because it's not a real Switch, it's not hardware operating, so you can make it do whatever you want. You can have your emulated you can have it just not do the checks, not do whatever. So presumably this is going to be looking for something particular about the Switch that isn't currently done in emulation, but I don't see how this can be like successful for any long period of time.
Well, I will let you know this, as a Switch owner, as a person who loves her Switch, but as understand the shortcomings, third-party games that are not from Nintendo, I mean, maybe even some that are from Nintendo, you get really used to already looking at the reviews to find out if that game performs well on the Switch or if you should get it elsewhere. And this is just another thing to look for in that review.
Yeah, people are already, the Switch already does have some performance. So, I mean, that was like everyone's first instinct on this was like, the Switch does not have like CPU and RAM to spare on random unnecessary DRM stuff. Like, is the Switch emulation scene like that big?
I mean, right now it isn't.
Okay, so there's
I can't imagine it being like in relation to the number of people who have like legitimate Switches.
Sure.
So the launch Switch, I believe, has a hardware thing in it that you can still basically jailbreak it easily because they can't fix that, which is why they stealth released a different one.
Yeah, and it is how they were able to gain access to it to be able to figure out more about how it works.
Pretty sure the Stream Deck has a thing on it for Switch games.
But like anyway,
how big is the scene? Yeah.
Like
that I wouldn't know. I don't hang out in those places. From
things that I've seen, like the current state of Switch emulation on PC like is not great in terms of like you need a pretty powerful PC because you're emulating a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
To get up to any kind of reasonable quality. Like I've seen some stuff where it's like Wii U emulation is getting pretty good.
Yeah, Dolphin's killer.
And there's some stuff that is, obviously there's a bunch of Switch game or a bunch of Wii U games or Switch games that were also released on Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
But actual Switch games, I feel like Switch emulation on PC is not that big. Like, I'm sure it happens, but I can't imagine it being that big a concern.
Yeah. I mean, as Bycaster says, if you were to emulate that on an M1 Mac, because they're both ARM architecture, the Switch and the M1, it's like you'd have a lot easier time because the base architecture is the same. You'd have a lot easier time targeting that CPU, and I'm like, I'm not even sure how a lot of emulation happens these days.
I don't know. I
working
find a
in that.
thing that someone told me works, and I download it.
Sure.
And then I use that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do it very often, which is also why I don't know how any of that works.
And I have no idea if, like, hey, is it better to run a Dolphin emulator on a Power Mac G5 because they're both the same underlying architecture? Does that even matter anymore? Like, maybe it does
I don't know.
not.
I
right?
only
So-
used a Super Nintendo emulator because the Sailor Moon game was in English that way,
Yes.
and I got stuck in the game, so I haven't finished it.
Yeah, I haven't had to emulate stuff in a long, long time, and I don't really think about it too much. And it's because also it's like I'm at an age where my disposable income is a lot higher than it has ever been. So to me, it's like if I want to get a game, I guess I could just go buy a game for the console that I want to play, and also I don't have the time.
Any time I've ever done emulation, it's because I can't find that game
Yeah.
Right.
anywhere, or again, I need a ROM patch anyway to make the thing in English.
And if really what you're doing is you're trying to find a means by which to, like, because in the future, like people playing Wii and Wii U games on Dolphin right now, it's like that shouldn't be seen as it might, while it is, people will see it as a problem. It's like that shouldn't be seen as a problem because that's very old architecture. And people who are doing amazing stuff to, like, up-res all that stuff to play these games in that way, it's kind of like old architecture, like old systems. You're not in any danger of eroding game sales in a way that would be, like, problematic to the current system. But that means that you have to wait so many years for that to happen. And we just talked about the idea of, like, the first 6 months of selling a game is where the lion's share of the money from the production of the game is being made back.
I don't know about Switch emulation, and I mean, this game was on the Wii U, so maybe they're just using the Wii U version. But Breath of the Wild has a million mods done to
They're
it. In
absolutely
fact,
using the Wii U
I think
version.
they made isn't there like a big patch with like a bunch of extra game in it now?
Yeah.
and
I'm pretty sure
stuff?
that's based on the Wii U version. But
Yep.
I mean, that's still going to be a thing where, like, if you're
of course,
mad about
also
a
if you're
current game that's still within the generation that.
also
in.
if you're Nintendo and you keep releasing your old games,
There's that too.
Well, to a degree.
on virtual consoles,
They
or whatever.
never release the old games everyone really wants. F-Zero. I'm sure there's something else people complain about. I hear that one a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, who might have some opinions about this stuff?
Hmm?
Who?
Maybe Masahiro Sakurai.
I doubt he would make a video about that, but it would be
He's got
hilarious
his
if
own
he did.
YouTube channel now.
Yeah, he does.
And as Heather noted here, and Hideo Kojima also has starting a podcast.
Yeah,
Apparently,
I think this is just the new thing.
Yeah, just like well-respected video game devs. And of course there's the meme with Sakurai with the with like after the last update to Smash where everyone's like, sleep now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could because everyone knew that he was just like working himself so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm very happy he's making a YouTube channel because, like, there was a time during Smash reveals where he he was like, I can't tell people what games I play anymore.
Right,
because it was all speculation about what the next thing was.
He's like, he's playing this game. That means that it's going to be in Smash.
Right, and I always got this sense from him that he not only likes making games, but he likes talking about games and playing games, and now you kind of can't do that because everyone knows who you are and whatnot. So I'm like, the YouTube channel is really a cool thing. I haven't had a chance to check
Smash.
out the videos.
Also Kirby, by the way.
But
Yeah,
I
right.
did see a tweet where someone was like, oh, Sakurai went YouTuber for 2 seconds and then repelled himself or something because he has a thing in one of the videos where he's like, you should subscribe to my channel. Oh, that was very YouTube of me. I won't be doing that again.
Yeah, I didn't like how that felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's up to like 400,000 subscribers
I
or
mean,
something.
Yeah.
it's not like he needs the help for subscribing. But
One of the videos was talking about apparently Kirby was originally like Yoshi style, like licking
Oh.
people up
Oh,
instead of
neat.
sucking them in.
sure.
Wow.
That would be creepier, actually.
Yeah, I don't know why that's worse, but it is worse.
It just
I feel like if it's the suction, you feel like maybe you can run away, even though it's too powerful. But like once a tongue has grabbed you, like some weird tentacle out of a mouth, it just no.
You know,
also, then Kirby's like round, and so the tongue is like all like coiled up inside his head.
oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
like a woodpecker.
Yes. Do you know what this reminds me of? This is a bit of a tangent, but what this makes me sad about is that this is essentially like Iwata. Like this is
the
like
Iwata Ask stuff.
kind of, yeah, but it's like Sakurai's still around, and if what he's choosing to do if he's choosing to semi-retire and just be like, you know what, there's a whole bunch of stories we can tell about how the early days of me doing my work, and I can bring in other people to talk to, and we can tell all sorts of stories about the video games that you guys have been playing for like 20, 30 years at this point. I'm just like, if you're a good interviewer and there's some interesting stuff to be said, I think that would be fascinating material to be pulling into podcasts and to putting stuff on a YouTube channel and stuff. And it just makes me think, I'm like, holy shit, like if Iwata, like, if he didn't die, but he was like, I have to retire early, this is exactly the kind of thing he'd be doing. He's like, I'm not going to actually retire. I'm just going to sit down and interview a whole bunch of people from the industry.
I feel like he was already kind of doing that. Like it just would have expanded into this.
Absolutely right.
Maybe
it would have probably been a little more, because it's like Sakurai doesn't work for Nintendo, but it's like he doesn't work for Nintendo anymore, so he can get really wide.
I mean, he was contracted for Nintendo. My understanding is the channel is he has permission from Nintendo to show off some of those production things.
And thinking of the kind of people like that, then you can have access to, and to talk to those people and to learn stuff about what's going on. Like, because I watched a Low Spec Gamer video where he talked to somebody who was on the original Game Boy team, and the things you can learn from somebody who's like, I don't work for the company anymore, but I can now talk about this, and it's like, oh my god, like the things you can learn.
To a degree. I mean, it depends on, like, I don't know, it, like,
NDAs are a thing.
NDAs are a thing, but there's also maintaining a relationship.
Yeah.
And while Sakurai is starting a YouTube channel, I don't think that means he's not working anymore.
No, but I think it definitely translates into, you can have people come in and talk to you about development stuff.
When you start a YouTube channel, that's the end of your career.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Like, that's the
last
twilight
thing you do. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Paul. Are you saying your career never started because you started a YouTube channel?
No, we were going for about like 2 or 3 years before we started the YouTube channel.
I just feel like that kind of
and then it's just been a slow decline ever since.
That kind of independent operation is an opportunity to get way more information out of how things were made than Iwata Asks being like, I'm going to talk to you guys about a bunch of stuff, and then I know that Nintendo PR goes through that point by point to say, what do we take out that isn't exactly indicative of the things that we want to say?
Right. There's a lot of oversight.
I'm pretty sure he was president when he did those.
No,
so
I know, but at the same time, he might, if somebody said something, it's like, that's not exactly what we would have said, or we don't want to give out that piece of information or whatever. There's all sorts of redactions. It's like, whereas a guy running, Sakurai even, but running his own YouTube channel, he might get a really juicy piece of information from somebody, and that next thing you know, it's showing up on Polygon being like, oh my god, can you believe that this thing happened this way?
I mean, okay, to be fair, now that he's started a YouTube channel, every blogosphere thing, journalistic or not, is going to be because I've seen other people leave companies and start podcasts, and every now and then, and it feels like every 2 weeks, former employee of blah said this, and I'm like, they worked in PR, they know nothing about that. Why is that interesting?
Why are you talking to them?
Why you clearly know their name has no weight because you called them former employee of company and not their name.
I'm now just imagining like that Sakurai just like starts going deep into like the YouTube drama. And starts just like posting like daily updates on whatever Jake Paul and
just
Keemstar
gets corrupted immediately.
I don't want to see that at all.
Oh
no.
What's happening with all these TikTokers or whatever?
Tim Tams, the Tim Tam slams.
Anyway,
right.
Don't corrupt him.
That what I just said there might be referred to as a lie of pee.
Like you lied about going to the bathroom?
All right.
Because that's a game coming up. It's called Lies of P.
Lies of P.
Maybe they're not allowed to use
like
Pinocchio
the
in
letter
the
P.
name.
And yeah, not PEE. Just
Okay.
this. And it appears to be, or at least it's being put forward as Pinocchio, but like Souls-like. So Pinocchio, but Bloodborne.
Pinocchio is more
Because-
of a mech
Yeah, it's like
robot thing.
robot-y Pinocchio.
Rather than
it's
a
like
puppet?
Pinocchio. It actually reminded me a lot of like Dishonored
Oh, okay.
in terms of style.
You're hunting
and
down Geppetto.
yeah,
I
it's
think.
yeah, it's why I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Pinocchio seems to be like the hot shit right now. Isn't there like there's like 4 Pinocchio movies coming out in the next year
Why?
or something ridiculous?
I don't
What?
know about that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some ridiculous number of Pinocchio like IPs coming out.
Huh.
So yeah, it's something, and apparently I don't. Apparently, whether you're lying or not has an effect on things. That's him with the robot arm.
I'm gonna say that.
That's-
Yeah,
and that was the blue fairy.
He's a robot,
Yeah.
and yeah, it seems like there's decision making.
Yeah,
But I don't think your nose grows. I don't think that happens at all.
It's just your sword gets longer.
Oh, that would be useful. I'd lie all the time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that mean Cloud has just got a big ball of eyes? Is that why his
He
sword's
well,
so
he is a
large?
big ball of lies. He's not even aware of.
No, that's
of-
true. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Of
this
it.
definitely gives me a real Dishonored vibe. With the whole, like sort of sort of not steampunky, sort of Art Deco style
Oh, he's
stuff.
got a Mega Buster. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the article likened this to Mega Man gameplay.
I has a shovel. Okay.
Rah. I remember this part from the movie.
Yeah.
From the Disney movie.
Where's the whale?
It's the this is all happens on the island of Lost Boys, I think.
Mm.
Oh, so we've already passed the whale then, is what
Hey,
you're saying.
yeah, actually, yeah. Speaking of Dishonored, like Whale Punk, which is what Dishonored is called.
Really?
Well, it's because everything is powered by like whale oil.
I was not aware
Ah.
of that.
That's the sort of style.
I would be using that word so much more often if I'd known it existed.
Yeah, I mean they sort of tongue in cheek. That's what some people call it. So
So the funniest thing about this is that it's Pinocchio, but we're of course all used to the Disney Pinocchio, and so that's what kind of really makes this thing
Yes.
shine.
But I will point out that everything they've shown us so far has been tons brighter in light and color than anything I've ever seen in a Dark Souls game.
Sure, absolutely, way easier to see what's going on. But
so far everything has only had one head, so that's good.
if you said, "Hey, look at this new game," I'd be like, "Oh, so From Software's making a new thing." It's like, no, it's by a different company. I'm like, okay, well then some other company is making a FromSoft game. Like I would have just kind of walked away from it feeling like that. I'm like, I don't. Clearly, the point of this game is that it's Pinocchio. Like
Elden
it's-
Ring did very well, so I assume everybody's trying to make a FromSoft game now.
I
Yeah.
mean,
If
they
you
were
didn't-
doing that before Elden Ring.
If you didn't tell me that this had anything to do with Pinocchio, I would have just been like, okay, well, you just like, hey, it's called Lies of P. I'm like, okay, and what is it? Well, it's a game that's kind of looking like a Bloodborne. It's looking like it's a Souls-like. I'm like, great. Why is this on the list? And then it's like, oh, it's Pinocchio. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I watched that when I was a child.
I don't really remember most of Pinocchio, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just remember there was a whale.
It's one of those movies where
Cricket.
you think
Yeah,
you remember it, and then there's some aspects of it that you're like, oh right, this bit.
I think I got up during the Wonderful World of Disney and got like more food or something and came back and like 3 minutes passed and it's completely lost
No.
now.
There's
what's
some
happening.
the Island of Lost Boys and stuff is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and once upon a time he's human, and then he finds out he's starting to turn into wood again because of the whole curse thing, and that's real weird. And then he turns into a young boy again and loses his memory.
It was terrifying.
Spoilers, I guess, for a show that no one's watching.
It was terrifying watching these kids go to like the Island of Lost Boys and like gambling and drinking and doing all the things you're not supposed to do, and being like, oh, okay, they're gaining the weird ears and doing whatever. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird and fun and whatever. And then the next thing you know, they turn to actual animals. I'm like, I hate this. I hate this so much. I don't want to watch this anymore because that seems really permanent. And I have a really big problem with transformations that are permanent. I'm learning this about myself at 43 years old, that I'm not really good with that.
How about
how about cars that are also Pokemon?
or at least driven by Pokemon?
I can get that maybe. Yeah.
Do you want a Pikachu mini?
Wait, a mini? Because they don't
mini.
make the Beetle anymore.
It's a mini. It's an electric car, right?
Yeah. Well,
It's Pikachu, right? Oh my God.
Yep. Just wanted to watch
It's-
that reaction more than anything.
yeah, it's powered by just like a dozen Pikachus in the trunk.
Sometimes I ask a
holy
question where I
Christ.
know the answer to it because I know somebody else might react funny, and it works for me.
This is a Mini Cooper electric.
Yes, this is a concept car. I don't think they're actually like releasing them. But it is a Pikachu version of a thing that already mostly exists, I think.
It's not like a Countryman or anything like that. By glove.
Yeah, it's got like a thing. It's got
The Aceman
a projector on it, so you can watch Pokemon shows. I
Well,
guess
in a dark
It's got-
garage.
It's also got like I think the article says you can
You can
hook
actually-
up a switch into the car, but it doesn't say like whether or not
whether or not
assumingly-
presumably you can't do it while you're driving.
presumably not.
I love that it has a completely round screen because that's the minis thing. Is that like the original minis, not the original minis, but like the ones when they came out, they moved like a lot of the dash stuff to the middle and it was all circles and stuff. And it's like, why is it dead center in the middle? Why isn't it where the driver is? And
Yeah,
I love this idea.
I like the idea of a projector and doing the car outdoor thing, movie on a wall thing.
Mm-hmm.
Finding. I don't like the idea of having an electric car that now you've parked in an underground dwelling, not near an outlet, presumably,
No.
using all of your power to watch Pokemon on the wall, and then be stuck there forever and becoming one of the underground trainers people have to fight.
This is the kind of fantasies we just say to each other at home all the time. It's just I talk about people turning into things, never turning back, and she talks about shit like this, and it's just you're getting it all today.
If you
Paul,
turn
I'm
if you turn
sorry.
into mole people, you could do both
Right.
things.
Right,
I
exactly.
want to point out, Beach doesn't actually have to be around for me to say these things.
No, not at all.
This stuff just happens.
It's definitely
No one can hear me talk about this stuff when the cameras aren't on.
this is cool. I think it's cool that Minnie's like, oh, we're going to work with a Pokemon company and do like a cool concept thing that we will probably, maybe we will make the Aceman, maybe we will make a Pokemon edition just as a one-off, right? And I'm like, but what if instead, what if there was a Ford Aerostar Pokemon edition? Like, what if there were what if more video
I hope they use
companies,
the Aerodactyl for that.
like, what if you could buy a vehicle and maybe just stop buying vehicles altogether? But what if you could buy a vehicle that was like backed and branded by a video game company that's like there's 10,000 of these on the planet, like that kind of thing. It's like you can get the edition of this vehicle that is the Pokemon one that has Pokemon stitched into the seats and stuff and has like all. I'm like, that is totally who they are. They're making Pokemon company making like adult style clothing for adults to walk around with a little Pokemon on them and stuff. I'm like, this is the next step. It's the movement of this branding into spaces where you don't expect to see it, but people will totally plots for it. Like they'll be all over having this kind of stuff. Cost you $4,500 extra as a package to get the Pokemon edition version of this, because you can get the Harley Davidson edition of a Ford F-150. What the fuck does that even mean?
That your car can turn into a bike.
It has straight pipes. Like,
Also, don't
it only
sit-
has
don't
two
sit-
wheels.
Don't sit in your car when it's transforming into a bike.
It doesn't make any sense. The Modern Warfare Jeeps, right? Like, it's like this stuff exists, but why haven't we been seeing like Pokemon do it by now? And yeah, anyway.
I mean, they make their Pikachu car every now and then.
But it's a
drive around.
one-off.
Yeah.
Right. So
But
what
it's
if you
still a thing they
what if you
did.
could buy what if you could have bought that Volkswagen Beetle without the ears and the tail on it, like a normal ass car? But
The problem is that like cars have never been very closely associated because you play a kid in the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Cars are not like they've got to have made like Pokemon bikes, right?
I don't think they have, because e-bikes would be great for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm,
Like, you
I'm
think that
thinking
would
just
work.
regular bicycles, but I don't exactly go bicycle shopping in the kids department.
Because you can get like Paw Patrol bikes and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
surely
that's what
they've
I mean.
made.
I
Yeah, they've made
assume
like.
they've probably made some
But
sort
why
of-
haven't they
mean,
made road bikes? Like
now after the
adults bikes.
after Scarlet and Violet come out,
Yeah.
presumably they'll be making some cool motorcycles.
Absolutely, right? Like the
I want a motorcycle that has wheels and also feet that just walks.
I didn't talk about this.
Oh, no.
But because I've been on this stupid headphone kick thanks to some dude in Australia. Grado,
If you can hear people in Australia, those are excellent headphones.
they're great headphones. Grado, who is a not coach built, but I mean they make headphones out of Brooklyn. They're not like they farm nothing out to like China or like Bangladesh or whatever. They make them all themselves in house. Grado has Pokemon Company collab headphones that are twice as expensive as the normal version of the headphone because they're Pokemon Company. So for like $300 or even $500, you can buy like little Pikachu insert that is like glued onto the thing, or you can buy like really cool looking Grado headphones that also look like Pokeballs.
Gives you like a random electric shock
From
sometimes.
time to time.
Yeah.
If you don't ground your equipment
It
properly.
goes like, Pika! Pika!
They look hot as hell, and I'm like, if I had the means, I maybe would buy some things because they look cute, but I don't know if I'm a fan of the Grado sound or not. Anyway, but that's the thing. It's like we're making adult toys. Cars are an adult toy. At this point, it's like I could see people being like, "Yo, I have to have a Pikachu branded car."
So,
I mean, if you had a bike, you could put the Pokeballs in the bike
but
wheels.
that's the thing. That's the only kind of stuff you would get. You get the Pokeballs or you get Pikachu because Pikachu will never not be the main thing they advertise with. So basic.
Wow.
Or maybe you're lucky and get an Eevee because Eevee is popular for a while, but you're never going to get the Pokemon you actually want.
Yes, BDG will never have his Tangela version of a small vehicle to drive around in.
He just needs a Tangela gill suit,
Yeah.
ghillie suit thing.
Yeah.
You don't need a car.
Shaky and weird. I'm totally about the idea of because they do that for trains, like in Japan, which is what we should all be taking as trains. We should have trains fucking everywhere.
We
and
don't have any
and
here.
they Pokemon and Hello Kitty brand trains all the time, and it's like that's awesome.
I
And
mean, we've got like bus wraparounds.
we do, but not like
But
a lot of
Beach doesn't want a bus.
doesn't
Beach
happen
wants
that
to
often.
train.
Yeah, I want trains.
I mean, I want a train too, and I know Cameron would definitely be on board for that. But
We had a train and we didn't respect it. They took it away from
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
yeah, where are we going with this?
I don't know. Cars. Or special edition cars.
I don't have the money for that. Something cheaper we could talk about.
Guess what?
Oh, I could make up stuff.
Guess whose 30th anniversary it is?
Oh my God! Is it Sonic's 30th anniversary?
No.
Damn it!
It's his 31st anniversary, I
Well,
think. But
okay,
anyway.
fair enough.
I mean, that's not what we say.
No. It is, I believe, or I have been told anyway, that it is Sonic's 30th anniversary. And in celebration of it, Razer is selling a Sonic limited edition Razer wireless controller and quick charging stand for Xbox.
Oh, so it is for Xbox.
Yes.
Okay,
For
Yeah, it's
Xbox.
got the X on it.
right.
X for Xbox.
Okay, so custom Xbox controller.
Inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog.
By which we mean put
has
him
a-
on it.
It has a picture of
Is
Sonic
it
the Hedgehog.
inspired by if he's actually on it?
It has his famous catchphrase on it. Sa exet. That's on there too. Come on, let's go.
Protect humanity with cool blue attitude, alongside the world's most powerful hedgehog, with a must-have collectible that celebrates one of the most beloved and iconic heroes of the gaming universe.
Which Sonic are we basing this off of? Because he's not always about humanity in all of them.
There are some pictures.
Yeah, here, let me...
I'm guessing it's Sonic and Knuckles era.
Whoa!
Wow! Holy crap!
I think that's actually... that's just... It's taken a while for those to actually show up.
Okay.
I mean, there were so many of them.
So many there.
So yeah, have your...
The feel is very Japan Sonic 1.0 kind of. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm just saying, sometimes I don't think there are humans outside of Dr. Robotnik and Sonic.
All right, so so beautiful wrapped controller.
What about that? Wasn't there that other special edition controller that was blue and fuzzy?
Yes.
Oh shit! Yes.
Yes.
Oh no.
Now-
And there was also
the red
the
one.
red-
Yeah,
there was the red
they
fuzzy
did the
echidna
Knuckles
one?
one too.
Yeah.
Now, I prefer the non-fuzzy
Blech.
if I have to choose between these two, but I don't really like the way this one looks. I think it's
Impulse
actually kind of
analog
boring.
triggers. It is pretty normal, which is
It's not interesting to me.
Like, it's that thing of, like, you know, the Halloween costume that's a bib with the picture of the guy on it.
yes.
It's like Superman doesn't wear a shirt with a picture of Superman on it.
Sure.
That's not a Superman costume.
Yeah, I can also see they left the transparent texture from Photoshop in on it as well, so that's kind of cool.
Guys, you're supposed to get that. You're not supposed to print that.
Yeah, exactly. It's I do. I mean, the fact that
yeah,
you went
I like
to the back.
I like the back. I like the stand. I just
Yeah.
don't, as a controller itself, I don't find it that interesting of a design.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that it's very affordable.
Well-
Magnetic contact system.
Yeah, I like the trees on the
Yeah.
charging stand. So it's a controller and it's a charging stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
both of those things.
And it's made by
How
Razer.
much would you pay?
100 whoa.
I wouldn't pay anything.
Would you pay $200
Oh.
US dollars?
I was assuming 150 is where this kind of
Wait,
landed, but
Isn't
yeah.
that just how much it costs me to go to one of those websites where I can make a controller look like what I want?
You might be right, actually.
I'm not buying this controller. I'm making my own.
Is it any better because they have all the advertising? I've never used a Razer wireless controller before. Are they any better than the ones where you can go get them customized yourself? Because if the custom ones are just taking a normal Xbox controller
Yeah.
and customizing it, then that's first party. That's as good as any other controller should be.
And I mean, this doesn't, like, the D-pad on this is not, like, it doesn't have the Xbox Elite controller D-pad, which is
A lot nicer.
nicer. It's got that cool thing where it, like, rotates between separate
Yeah.
buttons and connected
Or-
buttons.
Interesting.
I can just buy, most Xbox controllers come in white. I just buy an Xbox controller, grab some of those fun blueberry smelling Sharpies, and I can draw a Sonic.
I was gonna say maybe you could just
You
go
can have
buy
your own,
some.
have your own Sanic controller.
Yeah.
Get some stickers off of eBay and just like
No.
you know like
I'm not going to go spring for stickers to put on a controller.
fair enough.
I'm going to use a marker.
Wear them off over time. It's hey, if you
And I'm not even going to put in a penciled outline. I'm just going to go for it.
well, yeah. So you can spend $200 on that thing if you want.
They have all these different. They have various. Sorry, I was just looking. They have various limited. There's the
Is Razer still? Holy
Captain
crap!
America limited edition. Like that one. That like.
Does
that,
it have pop-out
that's,
wings?
That's actually legit better.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a picture of Captain America on a controller.
Okay,
I like
but
that
that's
style.
his chest, and you are definitely moving parts of his body.
and it's the new. Always forget Sam Wilson one.
Stormtrooper. Where you're like.
You were definitely picking a
You're
stormtrooper's
You're holding
nose.
a stormtrooper like this. You're like,
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm so hungry.
like, please stop poking me in the face.
I mean, at least it's a helmet, so it's not like you actually have access to a soft, squishy face.
And you're like, you're sticking your thumbs into his eyes.
Yeah. Aren't you a little wide to be a stormtrooper?
That's rude.
That's Stormtrooper mouthful mode. I love that.
God. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I think Razer's just one of those companies that you can get colors added to things on. They all cost like
And
this
they
much.
glow.
That's a good point. Why don't the other ones? They should have lights in them. If it's from Razer, they should all have like cool little lights and stuff. But they don't seem to. They're just expensive.
Disappointing.
Well,
And then, so the final thing I had marked here was just basically like, hey, there's a ton of games that were announced at Gamescom,
yes.
or previewed, or more information was released.
Mm-hmm.
As we've talked about before, from a checkpoint perspective, there isn't like, it's like
They're trailers.
This is video. That is news for video game in the world of video games, but there isn't like that much interesting
nothing
from
to
a
make fun
from a
of.
comedy standpoint.
Yeah.
I will say I watched the Sonic Frontiers trailer,
Oh yeah.
and I mean I hope that game is good for everybody's sake. But there's like this part at the beginning where there's like this person telling Sonic that he's like wrecking everything and he should leave, and Sonic's standing next to this statue with like a light, and he doesn't say anything. He just stares and touches the light, and it's like, what is this? I'm a cat and I'm just gonna keep wrecking everything in front of you bullshit.
To be fair, Sonic does wreck a lot of stuff.
It's true.
Like before you were here, everything worked fine, and then you smashed through a bunch of walls. Please stop doing
He's
that.
the fastest thing alive.
One of the games, though, we've talked about before, Return to Monkey Island, which looks to be super neat. It's got a cool, different, kind of a different art style, and worked on by the Ron Gilbert, who did the original one.
What day is it coming out?
It's going to be coming out on Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Great.
Yes. But what happens if you pre-order?
And if you pre-order it, there's been a lot of controversy about in-game purchases and DLC and stuff. People like bang.
Okay.
But if you pre-order this for free, you get your very own horse armor.
That takes up a spot in your inventory.
Hang on.
And does nothing.
There's no horses in this game, are there? No.
It
does not do
It sits in
anything.
your inventory and does nothing.
Do you know what this is referencing?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Oh, I know what this is
From
referencing.
Oblivion.
Yeah. Woo!
A joke from 2006.
Holy crap.
Remember how young and innocent we were when everyone was like $250 for a thing that wasn't included in the game?
Yeah.
For horse armor?
Yeah.
$2.50?
Well, Ron Gilbert wants you to know that
What
he
the hell?
appreciates your custom and he will give you your horse armor for free.
Yeah. We all just went downhill from
Yeah.
there.
The answer is timing.
Yeah. Tragedy plus time.
Yeah,
You know? The tragedy of the horse armor.
Kinogami's like, wasn't horse armor just $1? It's like, we live in Canada.
Well, I mean, every article I looked up said $2.50.
Yeah.
So blame them.
Inflation?
Yeah, whatever.
Inflation adjusted.
I had
But
to
yeah,
look up what
everyone
year
was
this
so mad
happened.
about horse armor when it came out.
It was a big joke.
The idea,
It was
the idea that
hilarious
it
to
was
talk
like this
about.
big gouging thing that they were doing. Sigh. It wasn't even cosmetic. Like it did actually help your horse, I think. In the
I think
game.
so, yeah.
I
It was
don't know.
armor.
I never played Oblivion.
Yeah. Largely.
just- Yeah, the trailer coming up and telling you all about this horse armor that will be in your inventory, but will have no gaming effect whatsoever. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think I would actually not want to pre-order on the basis that I think it would bother me to see a thing sitting in my inventory not doing anything.
Oh, man.
But Return to Monkey Island still looks neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. I'm a big fan of the Monkey Island games.
I don't know why, but when you were going to the last story and you're like, oh, there was just a whole bunch of trailers that came out, and like there's, because Gamescom is running right now, and I don't know why my mind flashed to some completely different part of, like, I'm like, he's going to say something about, and then just as you finish your sentence, the thought left my mind, because I was like, you're going to say something about something completely different that's going to be this weird thing. I don't know why you're going to bring this up, but you're going to bring it up. And then the moment you said trailers, my mind went, throw that away and never think about it ever again. And I'm like, no, I thought we're going to talk. Oh, we're not talking about that. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm over
I
here
watched
now.
most of the trailers.
I hate when shit like that
to
happens.
see if there was anything worth talking about, and yeah, all I could find was Sonic acts like a cat. Monkey Island has horse armor. Everything else I don't care about, apparently.
Looks fine.
Oh.
Dead Island 2 is what has been revealed. So I'm excited to see what incredibly horrible and inoffensive marketing they're going to do for it this time.
Yes.
I hope that they maybe have a different marketing team than they did
Well, that'll be news for later.
last time.
I remembered what it was.
Oh,
Because it's a bunch of games that are, the thing is going on and is happening over time, and Gamescom is doing that. But you know what else is going on right now on Steam? Is the Ukrainian Games Festival.
Oh.
So a bunch of developers, including like GSC Game World, who makes Stalker, and like a bunch of other people who make games that are based like that. You know, these studios are in the Ukraine, or in Ukraine, not the Ukraine. Ukraine. A bunch of stuff is on sale. So if you want to support them, go check that out on Steam and see if there's anything you want to buy from there. The reason this locked in my head because I saw an email for it, but also I was using the Unarchiver, which is an unarchiving app on Mac OS, and they have a little thing that pops up when you're using it. And it's like we live in Ukraine. If you want to come help us,
Oh,
and there's a button that
interesting.
says stand with Ukraine, and you can click a button. And I don't know what it
Okay.
does because I was afraid to click it.
I did not know that they lived there.
I didn't know either. It's been fun to find out where people live as things keep happening to them. That it's like this is terrible crap that's happening to you, but also it's very interesting to find out where you're all from.
So now that you know that Beach is very interested in where you live, especially in the YouTube comments, you should tell us where you live.
Oh yeah, don't do that in the YouTube comments. Never, don't. That's bad OPSEC.
If somebody asks for your address in the YouTube comments,
I didn't say address. I said where you live.
If you feel safe telling us what country
I
you're
assume
from,
country,
why not throw it in there?
Or, you know,
if Beej knows
I
where
didn't
you
ask-
are, then that's dangerous.
It means I can find you.
it's not like Wheeler asking for people's SIN numbers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just list all the countries you're not from.
Yeah, that'll help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either way, answer that.
Just
question.
post the wacko image of, or yakko image of.
I think it's out of date now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
anyway, thanks everybody for watching and joining us on ChillPoint. Be back next week with regular Checkpoint plus ChillPoint. But in the meantime, thank you for supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for doing that. And you can subscribe to this channel if you want. LRRVG. Lots of video game news and all sorts of cool stuff like that. And you can also support us by being a YouTube member or super commenting.
Super thanks.
Super thanksing.
You can make that as sarcastic or not as you want, because it sounds
mo-
sarcastic when we say it, too.
The money still gets to us even if it's sent sarcastically. So go ahead. And the store.loadingreadyrun.com has all sorts of cool stuff, including new sleeves.
Yeah, if you like card sleeves, we got 4 designs up there, 2 of which are new to the card sleeves and 2 of which are coming back from the old days. So they're pre-order right now because we're still trying to get them here, not here, to the warehouse. And then we have new shirt designs that I'm not talking about
Oh, good. That's
because I'm waiting for them to get made too. And
I
there's
noticed,
Okay.
delay.
I noticed how you didn't talk about them.
Yeah, sure
Yeah.
didn't.
okay.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.